What if I told you that the person you're trying to hold on to, the one you keep waiting for, hoping for, fighting for, is actually the very thing blocking your spiritual growth? Not because they're bad, not because you failed, but because your soul has already outgrown what your mind is still begging to keep. There are moments in life when Osho says the universe doesn't whisper. It pulls, it removes, it tears away, not out of cruelty, but out of protection. Yet we resist, we cling, we bargain. With reality, we tell ourselves that timing will change, that they will come back, that destiny will bend if we just wait long enough. But deep down, in the quiet place inside you, something already knows. Holding on has become self-betrayal. Every hour you spend replaying conversations, every night you spend waiting for a message, every moment you spend hoping that someone who walked away will suddenly understand you. You disconnect a little more from yourself. And Osho is clear. When you abandon your own center, everything in your life begins to collapse. Energy, peace, confidence, focus, emotional stability. Not because of the person, but because of the attachment. Attachment drains. Presence restores. But here's the most important part. There are windows in life, short, sacred, decisive, where letting go is not optional. It's urgent, necessary, a spiritual emergency. And if you miss that window, you get stuck in an emotional loop that can last months, years, or even an entire lifetime. This is why you can't watch this later. This is why your healing can't wait. This is why your freedom needs to start now, not tomorrow. Not when they return, not when they finally validate your worth. Because sometimes the universe is not taking someone from you. It is removing you from a version of yourself that can no longer survive. And if you feel that sentence in your chest, even slightly, then stay. There's something here your soul has been asking to hear. There is a moment, precise, invisible, unmistakable, when life tells you it's time to let go. Not next week, not when you feel ready, not when they finally give you closure. Now, Osho says that human suffering doesn't come from loss itself. It comes from postponing the loss. We delay acceptance. We delay truth. We delay the courage to release what our soul has already burned through. And in this delay, we break ourselves. Because the mind always says, later. Later, I'll move on. Later, I'll stop thinking about them. Later, I'll focus on myself. Later, I'll heal. But later becomes the trap. Later becomes emotional quicksand. Later becomes the place where your life quietly slips away. Osho reminds us of something uncomfortable. You don't lose people when they walk away. You lose yourself when you chase what is no longer meant to stay. Look at your own heart for a moment. Not the stories, not the fantasies, not the fantasies, but the truth sitting underneath all of it. Has holding on brought you peace? Has waiting brought you clarity? Has trying to fix everything brought the love you hoped for? Or has it only kept you frozen in the same emotional season, repeating the same wounds, reliving the same cycle? Letting go becomes urgent the moment your attachment starts costing you your dignity, your sleep, your energy, your identity. And Osho is blunt here. If someone leaving you destroys your world, it's because you built your world around someone who was never supposed to hold that power. That's why the universe intervenes. Not to punish you, but to free you. Not to hurt you, but to return you to yourself. Not to break your heart, but to break your illusion. When someone pulls away, the energy shifts instantly. Your body feels it. Your intuition knows it. But your mind argues with the truth, trying to negotiate what is already gone. And here is the raw, liberating secret Osho wants you to hear. People don't walk away from you. They walk away from the version of themselves that they can't sustain in your presence. Let that sink in. Some people leave because your growth exposes their stagnation. Some leave because your depth makes their superficiality impossible to hide. Some leave because your love demands a level of honesty they can't offer. Some leave because your presence reminds them of their own unhealed wounds. Whatever the reason, their departure is not rejection. It is revelation. It reveals truth. It reveals alignment. It reveals who is meant for your journey and who is only meant for your chapter. And once truth is revealed, waiting becomes self-harm. This is why letting go can't wait. Because every minute you delay, you step further away from the person you are meant to become, and closer to the person your pain is shaping you into. Letting go isn't losing someone. It's reclaiming yourself. And this is where the next part of your journey begins, where you finally face the deeper truth behind the attachment. There is a cost to holding on, a quiet cost, an invisible cost, and it's always higher than the cost of letting go. But you rarely notice it in the beginning. Pain doesn't announce itself loudly. It arrives in whispers. It begins with small things. You stop sleeping well. Your mind becomes heavier. Your energy drains faster. Your self-worth starts to wobble. Your intuition becomes something you avoid, because deep down, you already know the truth. Osho says that attachment is the greatest thief of human consciousness, not because it takes people away from you, but because it takes you away from yourself. And that is the cost no one warns you about. Holding on feels like love, but underneath, it becomes self-abandonment. You start making excuses for someone who's already halfway out the door. You justify behavior that is eroding your peace. You call it patience, when in truth, it's fear. Fear of losing them. Fear of losing the story you created. Fear of confronting the emptiness they leave behind. But the most painful, 'cause you stop growing. When you hold on to someone who is meant to leave, you freeze your evolution at the point where they stop loving you. Your life becomes a paused movie. Your spirit becomes dim. Your dreams slow down. Your light changes not because you are weak, but because you are fighting your own soul's movement. Osho explains that when someone no longer resonates with your inner frequency, life will naturally separate you. It's not punishment, it's protection. Your soul is trying to advance. Your spirit is trying to expand. But your attachment pulls you backward. And that backward pull drains you in ways you don't even see happening. You lose your spontaneous joy. You lose your clarity. You lose your ability to feel present. You lose the version of you that used to trust life. People imagine heartbreak as a sudden explosion. But the real heartbreak is slow. It happens in steps. In tiny emotional cuts that you learn to ignore. Every unanswered message. Every one-sided effort. Every time you lower your standards just to keep them close. Every time you tell yourself, it's okay, I'll try harder. Every time you shrink so they won't walk away. This is the silent cost, and is far more destructive than the pain of letting go. Because letting go hurts once. Holding on hurts every day. Osho says that life only takes away what is blocking your expansion. And if you resist that process, the suffering continues until you finally accept what your soul already knows. If they were meant to stay, you wouldn't have to fight to keep them. Letting go isn't losing a person. It's losing an illusion. And that loss is what frees you. Because when someone walks away, they are not walking away from your worth. They are walking away from what they are not ready to receive. Your light may be too honest for them. Your depth may be too intimidating. Your heart may be too expansive for someone who is still living in emotional scarcity. So the real cost of holding on is this: you keep trying to love someone who doesn't even know how to love themselves. And the more you try to save them, the more you drown. This is the truth you must face, the truth that will guide you into the next part of your healing. Letting go is not something you do for the other person. It's something you do for the quiet part of your soul that's been waiting to breathe again. Osho teaches that freedom is your natural state, but attachment is like a hand wrapped around your own throat. Soft at first, almost invisible, and then, slowly, it tightens. By the time you realize, it's suffocating you. You've already lost so much of yourself that the idea of releasing feels terrifying. But here is the paradox Osho reveals. The moment you loosen your grip, your suffering loses its power. Letting go isn't an act of rejection, it's an act of self-return. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop rewriting your identity based on someone else's presence. You stop shrinking so they can stay comfortable. You stop bleeding emotionally for someone who is never willing to step into the same depth as you. Letting go is a declaration. I choose myself, even if you don't. And that is one of the most powerful choices a human being can make. Because freedom doesn't come when someone stays. Freedom comes when you stop trying to control what was never yours. You were never meant to carry people who refuse to walk beside you. You were never meant to convince someone to love you. You were never meant to sacrifice your emotional health in order to keep a connection alive. Osho explains that clinging is the root of all misery because it goes against the very nature of life. Everything in existence moves, rivers flow, seasons change, stars die, forests grow, people evolve. Life has only one direction, forward. The only thing that doesn't move is fear. Fear wants you to hold on. Fear wants you to chase. Fear wants you to revisit the past again and again until it becomes a wound that never closes. But the soul only expands. An expansion requires release. Letting go becomes easier when you understand one truth Osho repeats in many teachings. Nothing real can ever be lost. If a connection is meant for you, it will return with clarity. If it isn't, it will fade no matter how tightly you cling. Your effort cannot save what destiny has already rejected. And that is why letting go is not defeat, it's alignment. It's the moment you stop fighting life and begin flowing with it. It's the moment the road clears. It's the moment the heaviness lifts. It's the moment your heart starts remembering itself. Most people believe letting go means forgetting. But letting go doesn't erase memories. It removes the emotional chains attached to them. You can remember without suffering. You can honor the story without being trapped in it. Letting go is simply choosing peace over chaos, presence over obsession, self-respect over desperation. You are not losing anything. You are reclaiming everything that was yours all along. Your clarity, your dignity, your time, your spirit, your future. And once you feel the first taste of inner freedom, you realize something profound. You were never meant to hold on this tightly in the first place. Your hands were built to create, to touch, to heal, not to grip someone who is walking away. Letting go is your doorway back into yourself, and once you step through it, everything begins again. There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, almost invisible, when something inside you shifts. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't come with lightning or explosions. It happens in a breath, in a pause, in a simple, honest realization. I can't keep abandoning myself just to keep someone else. This is the moment Osho calls the return to the center, the instant you stop living from fear, from longing, from attachment, and start living from awareness. At first, it feels strange. You're so used to holding on that letting go feels like betrayal. You're so used to chasing that stillness feels like loss. You're so used to giving your worth away that choosing yourself feels selfish. But slowly, clarity rises like the sun through dark clouds. You begin to see that the love you were begging for wasn't love, it was survival. The connection you were protecting wasn't mutual, it was draining. The stories you kept rewriting weren't truth, they were fear disguised as hope. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you stop sacrificing your soul to keep them. And this choice, this sacred, quiet choice, changes everything. You start noticing the weight you've been carrying. You start noticing the anxiety that wasn't yours. You start noticing the way your body finally exhales. You start noticing that the silence you feared is actually peace. When you choose yourself, you stop begging for closure from people who don't know how to offer it. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. You stop believing that heartbreak is your destiny. Instead, you begin rebuilding from the inside out. Osho says, awareness is the medicine for all emotional suffering. And awareness begins with one simple question. Does this connection honor who I am becoming? If the answer is no, release. If the answer is maybe, step back. If the answer is yes, it will never require you to betray yourself. Choosing yourself is not a single moment. It's a practice, a discipline, a devotion to your own inner truth. And the more you choose yourself, the more life begins choosing you back. You start seeing opportunities where there used to be walls. You start meeting people who match your depth. You start feeling emotions without drowning in them. You start recognizing that your worth was never tied to who stayed or who left. It was always yours. This is the shift that breaks generational patterns. This is the shift that frees you from emotional dependency. This is the shift that ends the season of chasing and begins the season of receiving. And when you truly choose yourself, you stop trying to go back to places that your soul has already outgrown. You finally step out of the story of loss and into the story of awakening. You become whole again. Here is the full topic, 6 final CTA, rewritten entirely in English, powerful, emotional, and aligned with your Osho plus Noir Aurora style. If something inside you shifted while listening, if even one sentence touched a quiet place you've been trying to protect, then this message was meant for you. And if you made it all the way here, it means you're not just watching, you're awakening. So here's your invitation. Subscribe to the channel right now, especially if you felt this teaching in your chest, not just in your mind. Every new video is another step into your healing, your clarity, your inner freedom. Now I want you to take part in this transformation consciously. Go to the comments and write, I choose myself, because today, that is the most important decision you can make. If this message resonated with you, leave a like. It helps this video reach someone who is silently struggling. Someone who needs Osho's wisdom as much as you did today. And before you leave, the next video is already on your screen. Click it. Continue your journey. Don't stop here. You're only just beginning.